and welcome back to another video of me doing a tier list. Today we have branches of philosophy and we have from the tiers of S to D, and as you can see we will be ranking from here to here. So let's get started. But before we start, let me remind you that I do not claim that none of one of these is just less important, that it's useless, that it's obscure. Nope, I do not mean this. It's just my personal thoughts and personal preferences as to what I will spend my time with and how much I find that subject useful, interesting, and the such. So that's my criteria. And with that out of the way, let's start. And first off, we have the philosophy of mind going straight into S tier because okay, guys, we need to understand that the hard problem of consciousness is something that we need to definitely resolve it in the modern age, because we know that we are conscious, we know that we feel things, but we can't really point out how exactly we are feeling that whole undeniable, integrated, undividable experience. Like, you see a color, you see an object, but how exactly are you seeing that particular color? How are you feeling that? Or you're eating something, or how exactly does it like taste good? You can explain like, okay, it has this chemicals, like, and this chemical binds to that tongue region, and that is transported to the brain. But in which part is taste there? Like, when you think about it, yeah, the philosophy of mind is super important if you ask me. Language going into A tier for me, because personally I think that it is supporting philosophy, because as like, from what I think that language, it helps us create logic and helps us understand why we think such ways, and it also like kind of supports our cognitive biases, our cognitive pathways, or the relation to existence itself that we have, or the thought itself that we have. So it is good to analyze the bridge as well as the path that it takes us. Like, let's give an example. If we think mind as the path that we want to go in, the language is the bridge that takes us there, or for anything really. And if we can't really trust the bridge, or if the bridge doesn't hold our weight, we will just crumble and fall into a river and never get to the point that we want. Science, for me, again, A tier, because I think that science, you know what, B, because if you have watched my previous videos, you will know that I am really big on science, and I think it's really important to understand the criteria or the fundamentals of our existence, both like humanistic sciences and like hard sciences. But I think science itself, it lacks the process that in which that we give meaning. Like, science cannot answer what it means to be, or science cannot give any answer towards meaning, because meaning is lived and meaning is experienced, and science cannot, as of now at least, experience like explain and re-emulate experience itself. So I think it goes to B tier. Religion, okay, for me, C tier, because I'll be fair with you. I think that religion is like philosophy of religion is mostly due to like upbringing, and people who argue about this are usually, at least from what I've seen so far, are like not really, you know, like, there is no real claim to make with religion. Like, if you have a faith system like Kierkegaard's, in which you have absolute, unshakable, illogical, experienced faith in a higher force, then I could like really respect it. But that isn't really religion philosophy. That's like existential philosophy, in which you give meaning to the world, and in which you find and define your own existential meaning. So religion philosophy itself, for me as of now, is C tier. Going to politics directly, S tier, because as much as, okay, if we are going with the analogy with, like, let's say we want to go to mind, it's a location, and language is the bridge. Okay, then politics is the reason that we are going to the mind. Like, because everything that we do, the jobs that we work in, the society that we function in, the language that is shaped, pretty much everything is a matter of politics and economics, because it defines and explains our external world, and our external world shapes the internal world as much as the internal world shapes the external world. So if we want to understand why and how that anything is ever causated, and what the systems of thought are behind it, we need to understand where things are coming from. And also, politics philosophy is really important because in today's society, there's this deep rooted right uh, right wing understandings of the world, such as race distinction or sexual distinction or capitalism. And this goes really, like, it isn't just an idea. These things influence pretty much everything that you can think about. And I think the philosophy of politics just reveals that aspect of, you know, life to us. Logic, to me, A tier. Logic is really fun when you go into it. I haven't delved that deep into logic, but, well, any philosophy is technically made with logic, but when you come to a certain point about the absurdity of the universe and existence itself, logic fails because logic is in this world and it cannot give definitive answers about the world itself. It would be S if it could, but it cannot. Because think of it like this: being itself is not logical, because, and being itself is not scientific too, by the way, because we have mainly two criteria for existence, like being, for to be anything at all. Those two criteria are testifiability and falsifiability, which means that if you look everywhere, and if you when you look everywhere, if you see something that does not exist, that means you have proven that being is not everywhere and therefore isn't scientific. And for the otherwise, like vice versa, if you can point to something in all of existence, if you can find something that doesn't exist, then that also scientifically proves being. But the thing is, you cannot point to something that in which that doesn't exist. So therefore, being itself, existence itself, isn't really scientific. Like, you can't give an explanation to why anything ever exists at all. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Aesthetics, D tier for me. I haven't read that much into it, and I think it's just that, well, compared to the big questions, I really don't get the point of aesthetics. Like, it can probably be explained through language, science, politics, and mind. And like, this as a branch itself doesn't really interest me all that much. And I don't know if it carries all that much, importance. So yeah, it goes to D tier for me. Epistemology, B tier again, because, well, well, you know, this is the science of how we know and what we know, but it is not A or S tier because, you know, after a certain point in philosophy, you come to realize that information and knowledge, as well as anything that ever exists, isn't fixed, isn't absolute. It is more of a reality that all, like, cursives onto itself. Like, knowledge in matter, in stored in the brain, just shapes what is happening right now and what will happen in the future. So it is not an absolute fact that defines everything that in the universe. So it just kind of leaves its place to the philosophy of mind, logic, language. So epistemology itself isn't that strong. Meta philosophy, metaphysics, S tier, because okay, I will call this not meta, but I will call this ontology. in which ontology is the philosophy of being, existence itself. Uh, as if you can, if you have listened to anything I've said so far, I'm really, 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 big about existence and thinking about existence, about ontology as a whole. And by the way, if you want to understand the difference between exist in existence and existence itself, like being with the big B and small b, you can watch my video, Meditations on Life, Chapter 2. I explained it there, like, I don't know, in the first 10 minutes, I think. And so, therefore, I think this is the ultimate philosophy question. Like, what exists and what doesn't, and how does it exist? Why does it exist? I think this is the ultimate philosophical question that you can ask, and the one that doesn't really have an answer. Like, these could have all sorts of answers, but you can't really give a answer to metaphysical questions. In the sense that it has a proper question format, or proper inquiry, or proper questioning. It surpasses religion, because religion is more mythical and just not very super verifiable, but metaphysics is experienced by everybody. Like, this cannot be asked by everybody, this can be asked by everybody, if you ask me. And ethics goes to top of B tier for me. I'm really deep into what is good, what is right, what is wrong, but in the grand scheme of things, I guess, compared to the other stuff, it is simply not as important. Like, it doesn't compare with ontology or mind or politics. Like, politics directly influences what we define as ethics. So in that sense, it cannot go any higher, if you ask me. Okay, and with this, uh, I finish off the video. As I said, these are solely my opinions, and by this I do not mean that the mind philosophy of mind is inherently better than aesthetics. No, I just feel that way, and I think these kind of hold more nuance compared to the ones in the bottom tiers. So that's pretty much it. If you have any opinions, any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. And if you want me to do, another tier list about something, also let me know. And in a short while, I think I will do a tier list about my favorite dilemmas of all philosophy. So stay tuned about that. And with that, I'm finishing the video. As always, take care, and I'll see you next time.